no. I think it's time for the quest, not reading a book again.
Look, there's the world that carries us, and then there's the world that we carry around inside. Yeah? This is that questionnaire. So let's get inside the head of some people, yeah? Because that's what we do. Yeah? You know I am that Mr. Factor, aka that Wade Wilson of hip hop, aka the unknown factor, aka, that motherfucker that's just got like issues, but we ain't gonna get into all that because that ain't the point, nor does anyone have the time for it. But if it's the quest, yeah, we got JTJ Hardaway up in that house, that's alien brother of mine.
I have no clue who the hell he's talking about. My name is JTJ Hardaway, people. How you doing?
Look, and tonight we got a 1 degree of separation from the guests because I actually interviewed the writer of one of the books that he's currently on that we're going to get right into right off the bat because, we might have already kind of done that, but that's neither here nor there. Y'all don't need to hear about that, right? It's not the point. But Vladimir Popov in the house.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Recording this time, so way better.
All right.
All right. But man, we're gonna get right into it because firstly, actually, I'm gonna where's my questionnaire, man? You didn't fill out my questionnaire.
Oh, well, I thought I did. I'm sorry about that. Did I have to do like the whole questionnaire or just like a few questions?
I mean, I won't lie. It is like 20 questions, I think, more than that.
Oh God.
Hey, look, man, it spices the interview and makes it to where we can get into things as far as you as a creator and, what you're into and this and that and like, whatever. Fine, Vladimir.
Okay.
Those are my questions. I guess I just need
we can go with the questions on the go. I'll like.
Hell no, I ain't asking none of those questions on the show. That's why I send that shit as a pre-show questionnaire, Vlad. I ain't doing it, right? But what we are going to get into is where the monsters lie, right? Now, I'm curious, man. Right. Was this something, Kyle, firstly, shout out to Kyle Starks, man. You can find an interview where myself and my brother, Mr. DKB, interviewed him a while ago on Super Nintendo on NFGR. If you want to search it up. Type in Super Nintendo, Kyle Starks. You could probably find it off Google that way. But that was back when he was writing Rick and Morty, and it'll have nothing to do with what he's currently working on. But I'm curious, with Where the Monsters Lie, man, was that something that he already had the story, or was that something you and him kind of collaborated on the story, putting that all together?
I think that was something that he had like a story before, because I was introduced to the story through the artist Piotr Kowalski, because Piotr and I collaborated on a bunch of stuff in the past, and he approached me saying like, hey, I have a cool story with a cool writer, and it's about monsters. It's going to be published by Dark Horse. Do you want to color it? And I was like, hell yeah, why not? I like working with you, and Dark Horse is a really great company, and I worked before with them, so that kind of went like that. And that's how we all came together for the project.
And firstly, shout out to Dark Horse Comics, man. Like, one of the few comic book companies I know for a fact you can look up their phone number and call them, and they will answer. I only know that because when I started this whole quest, it was the gentleman that answered the phone that recommended that I use LinkedIn, which has really helped as far as building the quest. I mean, up to and including, us having Mark Verheiden on, who is one of the guys that did a lot of the original work from Dark Horse, whether it be the American or the original Alien and Predator stuff, and quite a bit else. As far as what Mark in particular has done, so shout out to Dark Horse Comics. I agree, it's a great company, and I've loved their work for a long time. I could sit here and pull a lot of graphics. If I had every graphic that I'd ever had, I could pull a hell of a lot more, but that's neither again here nor there. What in doing this, man, like, what do you think of this story and this concept as far as you've just literally got a bunch of crazy monster serial killers? Because I mean, you're drawing a lot of inspiration from, I'd say, a lot of different classic movies of horror films.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Kyle? How about that? Let's just ask that.
Well, that's something that you would probably have to have him answered, but I believe like there is a lot of mishmash of all kind of monsters inside, like all kind of cult monsters from the 70s, 80s, 90s, I think, and all are kind of like a unique and different, but resemble to the past icons. And I think one of the interesting things is like, here this is like a gated community. People are living, everything is like normal, walking, talking, with an occasional bizarre kill here and there. And I guess it's interesting that maybe, I don't know, on a like everybody could relate to some character. That's what we're trying to do, like create all the unique characters in one place, and so you can relate. For example, when I was researching how to approach, when I was doing the research,
because you saw me.
Oh, sorry, what?
Wait, what are you talking about, Hardaway? What are you talking about?
Oh, different time. I had a straight brain fart of different serial killers. I was writing in my shit too, and whatnot. I'm listening to him and started getting inspired. My bad.
Like random, just all right. That was just really, really confusing, Hardaway. I was hoping you weren't having like some kind of mental break at the moment. I figured at the moment it's far more
I
likely
actually was. That was actually one of those moments where like my ADHD kicked in something severe and was like, hey, do this. And I started thinking out loud, bro.
All right. No worries.
Like that was wild. Whoa, creepy.
Hardaway's going crazier than I am. All right. Continue, Vlad. My bad.
Okay. So yeah, when we talked on emails and the whole production process, when I got a script and everything, because I was in charge for coloring partially, I was thinking, how to approach this and how to actually design the emotional, the mood, the environment, and everything through coloring, right? And for example, I watched a few documentaries on YouTube about Jeffrey Dahmer, and a few of the things like how that documentary, how those interviews with him were like being real, and how he was talking and getting like all that mundane stuff on there. And that was the thing that was the note that struck with me, like the creepiness in all of that, like the reality. And that was one thing that when I was looking, so that's something that I was like, okay, this is like real stuff, this is really creepy, and I could put that in a coloring to make it like everyday easygoing thing, to go like the real coloring, like everyday colors, not something abstract like a horror, or like what they were doing in the 80s, like with specific coloring, but to create like a regular everyday Zen vibe coloring. And then I decided to go and research a few painters, and I kind of researched Norman Rockwell, who is like American icon painter, who did like all of these reality paintings. So that was like those two things were the main inspiration for me when it comes to like approach to coloring. And that's how I took it then. As far as the coloring of the monsters, I just went with the flow, what I was thinking would be cool thing, and everybody agreed on, and that's how we built. So the clowns, the jumpsuit guy, the ladies, the bearded guy with a pink Lacoste t-shirt and all that kind of stuff. So like a casual gated community vibe, and every day they go walk and talk. And
is this just kind of one of the more odder comics you've colored? Because I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. I know by the time this drops, you should be able to pick up at least issue 2.
Issue 2 came out this Wednesday, actually.
Okay. So you'll definitely be able to pick up. You're just telling people when we record these things, man. You're not supposed to do that, but what the hell?
It's okay.
But so you'll definitely be able to pick up the first 2 issues. I honestly might go, because I got to run at the comic shop Monday, so I might end up going and picking up those first 2 issues. But is this one of the odder things that you've worked on as far as concepts? Because I mean, I've read a lot of books, man, and I mean, like, I would definitely say like Plush is probably farther out there, because I don't know what's wrong with Doug Wagner, but I still think him and me both need therapy. I wish he would find a therapist that would work for him so he could recommend it to me, but he won't. He just keeps writing really fucked up comic books. All right. Shout out to go check out Plush. But I feel like this is one of those ones that's kind of really out there as far as you're trying to give normality to a degree to people that aren't.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird concept, but then again, I had like a solid amount of experience in horror genre before, because some 8 years ago I worked on a Hellraiser for Boom Studios from Clive Barker's, like the hellish comic book, hellish horror of all of them. So there I had the freedom to design some of the bizarrities of hell in Clive Barker's universe. So there we went like with hell horror. So I wanted to kind of decide to go on a different way here, like different spectrum of horror, like ordinary stuff that feels like unordinary, with a few coloring compositions that are like feeling unease, and kind of some technical details that goes with coloring. So yeah, it might be like a weird thing, but then again, I did like a lot of horror in the past, so kind of blends in. I mean, just like, okay, this is a different spin of the horror. I mean, I did also a few short stories for Halloween anthology for Storm King Comics. That's like John Carpenter's horror story, and a few more horror mini series for other publishers. So, a lot of fantasy, sci-fi, horror in my portfolio in the past like 10 years or so of coloring. So kind of like, another day at the job. So like I kind of have like experience in a bunch of stuff that I read, like Stephen King, like all those, he's a master of this mundane horror stuff. Like It is one of his masterpieces, like old school Shining and Misery and all that kind of old stuff. So
have you read The Stand yet?
Sorry,
have you read The Stand?
No, I haven't. No.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a real good one too.
I just want to
watch
know.
movies.
I just want to know, Vlad, what got you into this initially? Then, like, and like as far as being a colorist, because we've had several colorists on the show in the past. Shout out to all of them. I can't think of any of the names off the top of my head. I apologize. I don't have a guest list in front of me, and it's becoming fairly extensive. But we are definitely we definitely need to do a PanCon that's just a bunch of colorists, like people that do that, because I think it's important. I think people don't give enough credit, in my opinion, to the people that put colors.
No, they don't. Definitely no.
Yeah, but what got you into being a colorist, man?
Probably my editors in the past. I was always into drawing and making comics as a kid and everything. And when I made my portfolio, like in 2010, 11, I think, like doing online through Europe and US, I was always more oriented to style and American comics. And I was sending portfolios to editors and publishers. And at some point, a few editors, I actually started with a really small indie company back then called Broken Icon Comics. They're from Ohio. And that's how I actually started building my portfolio in US. And they needed a colorist, and I was like, okay, I did some painting in the past, like, acrylics, oils, watercolors, grays with all kinds of things. I was experimenting, in the teenage and college days. And that's how I ended up. And then I started sending my portfolio to other publishers, and one of the editors from Boom Studios, that was like my first bigger publisher in 2012. That's when I broke in to the industry officially, or break in. I kind of forgot that's like now an outdated term. And they needed a colorist, and my first gig for them was like a cover color for, I think, the Avengers, like Steed and Miss Peel series, the British series from the 60s, I think. So that's my first job with them, and then my editor sent me a few more, and then somehow my third or fourth gig for them was like Hellraiser issue 15 back then. And I talked with my editor back then, like I would like to do some drawing, and he was like, well, we're filling the artists, but we need colorists. I have more projects for you if you want to color. And I was like, okay, why not? I was doing okay with that, experimenting, and Clive Barker wanted me on the book, so they put me on the next, the Dark Watch. That was like the longer series for Hellraiser. And that's how I started actually with coloring, and then I got more gigs with Boom, and I started sending more portfolios, Dynamite, IDW, and everybody else, got to connections, met with a few people, and that's how it connected. One thing led to another, and there we go, like 10 years, 11 years later, and some, I think like 7,500 pages of colors later, or something like that. There we go, here sitting and talking about mundanities of life in a gated serial killer community.
That's a lot of pages, Vlad.
Yeah, it is.
That's a big number.
Yeah, it is. I think I have like around 320 single issues that I worked on, plus anthologies, plus reprints, plus like trade paperbacks. I think like I'm around 380, 390 now total. I kind of lost my track for that because it's been a while.
That's smart.
Okay, we lost Jay.
Hardaway's making this harder to edit. I'm gonna throw something at him. Yeah, really?
No, my shit's been fucking up, bro. Someone called me that's trying to cause drama in my life. Dude, there's a reason why.
It's fine. We ain't getting into all that. Look, Hardaway, like I said, apparently both the hosts.
Dude, my shit is not working.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
What the hell, Hardaway?
No, like, dude, I don't think you understand. Like, my whole phone is freaking the hell out. I don't even know why it's still on the call with you when I closed the app.
Because you have to hang up the phone. Because you have to hang up the call. You just can't close.
I did. That's what I'm saying, bro. I did. That's what's really that's like really upsetting me right now.
You hung up the call?
Yes.
He apparently just doesn't want to interview anymore, Vlad. I don't know what's his problem.
It even put me on this like weird shit, like the together mode. And now all your shit got flipped upside down and whatnot.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm gonna hear that too.
No, it's fine.
I see you.
You just caused all kinds of editing problems. I'll deal with it. It's fine, Hardaway. I'm not gonna sweat it. We're not even gonna concern ourselves with that in any way, shape, or form because it's not relevant. It's just more of a pain in my ass. Whatever. Whatever. That was screwy though, bro. Your shit moves around all kinds of crazy and whatever, right? So back to like I had a question, man, and then you did all that, and then I totally yeah.
Okay, well, let's get back.
Who would write the theme song to your life, brother?
It's all part of life, so.
No, word, I agree. But my question is who would write the theme song to your life?
Who would write the theme song to my life? Oh.
Yeah, who would write it and play it?
Probably me. I always wanted to write a song and play it. I would probably suck, but you know, indie pop rock, why not?
That's the ballsiest answer we've ever gotten for that question, Vlad.
Yeah, that is the ballsiest answer.
Yeah, I tip my hat at that answer. Sincerely, I do, sir. It's mighty impressive. I mean, because you know we're hip hop artists, so if we said that, you know, we make music. Like you can go look us both up, as well as you know, collectively we're part of Zay with 4 other dudes, and so you know.
He says Zay, but it's X among you.
Well, you know,
yeah,
there we go.
Whatever. You want us to write it, dude? I don't know if you want us
small timpans. Then
I don't know if you want us to write the theme song to your life. We write really, really screwed up music, Vlad. You might end up in that gated community that you're coloring, and I don't.
All right. Well, I'm living in one right now in Florida. My sister lives in a gated community, so it's kind of like a full-blown experience right now. So
Yeah, it's kind of creepy, ain't it? Ooh,
There aren't.
it's peaceful.
Are there? They're not.
it
They're
is
not.
peaceful.
They're not people similar to the book you're coloring there that you're aware of. Are there?
Not that I know right now. No. For now, it's nice people.
That's how they all start out. You know what I mean? And then you get to the last comic book on the left. I did not get a chance to research this, but can I say the title in and of itself, like, what in the hell?
Oh yeah, that's an anthology book. That was made by Z2 Comics. That's actually made based on a podcast by a few guys, and podcast is like last podcast on the left. I haven't got the chance to check out my copies yet because we were finished production last year, and everything is going right now. But I worked on a one short story about 20 pages called Detective Popcorn. And it's a detective story, and the main character is like a bag of popcorns, and his friend is a hot dog, and kind of like a Adult Swim cartoonish kind of stuff. So it's really, really interesting, really abstract, and like just a cool weirdo detective story for the whole bunch of anthology stories.
You ripped off Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No.
He's like, I'm not saying that. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I just based the coloring on the casual popcorn bag and a hot dog and a smoothie.
All right, let me correct myself, Vlad. The writer ripped off Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
No, I think kind of like separate universes. Maybe there are some similarities, but I think like everybody's doing their own thing.
Oh yeah, no. I'm totally fucking with you, man. In that regard, I'm a firm believer in everything's inspired by something.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's that's why I love Deadpool Kills Everything, where he's going back and he's like killing Moby Dick, and you see it like destroy Namor. He kills Sherlock Holmes, and it gets rid of Batman. And I'm like, yeah,
I remember that one.
Yeah. If you kill the original inspiration, you would destroy a lot of things like that. So yeah, no, I'm totally. And if the guy that writes that's listening, man, I was just fucking around. Don't take it personal, please and thank you. All right. I really, really wasn't. Because like I said, I'm a firm believer everything's inspired by something. And if you don't take your inspiration from somewhere, or at least, or if you don't admit you're inspired by something, you're lying your ass off. And that's
you have to be inspired by it, but you just go outside and check everything around you, you're already inspired. So
yeah. So let me to that tip, man. Is there somebody's pencils and inkings that inspires you to the point where you're like, man, I just want a chance to color that?
Oh yeah, there were like a few of the older artists that I was inspired by Kid a lot. Like, I mean, one of them is like Mark Silvestri. I loved him. I love his work. For example, I worked for Top Cow on one project. I met him actually for a brief moment last year at New York Comic Con. He's one of the artists that I really liked when some 20 years when I was a teenager. I still do. Darkness is one of my cooler comic books that I really enjoyed. Bill Sienkiewicz, he's the legend. Oh yeah, I can't see that quite, but yeah.
Darklings, man.
Oh yeah. There you go. Oh yeah, they're cool. Like the original Minions and everything. Like badass.
Yeah, those are the best Minions ever, man. Like I love Mark and Garth's work on the first run of the Darkness.
Oh,
I love that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a great combination of someone who could draw just damn, man, and a man whose mind, and by that I mean Garth Ennis, can just come up with some stuff.
Oh yeah. And also one of the on the visual side, the panel directing and panel arrangements and compositions and everything was modern, so modern for the 90s, and that was like really cool, like how they all that layered up and everything. And then, you know, how late Michael Turner after that picked up a lot of stuff with Aspen and everything. Witchblade, like that was like amazing. Like Witchblade was so cool, and Danger Girl, for example, for Jessica Campbell. So all that line, like artists from the 90s and 80s, like those were on one side they were inspiration. Then there were the classics like Bill Sienkiewicz, the John Buscema, the older ones like Alex Raymond and Al Williamson, and the whole like Bollywood. He was a really great inspiration. Richard Corbin, for example, he's like one of my favorites as well. So a lot of those artists that, you know, I was inspired. I would love if there would be a chance to color some of the work. I can always pull up their pages from internet and do fan coloring for myself to see how it would go to spare in the community. So, and a lot of other artists among them. So a lot of the base is huge.
Yeah, real quick, I just got to say, may he rest in peace, Michael Turner. I got a chance to meet him before he passed way too soon, in my opinion, both as an artist, as a writer, because he was, I mean, he was doing a lot, especially with Aspen. I loved his work with Aspen. And shout out to Mark, man. I hope we have you on the show at a future point. But I do got to say, the first broadcast we ever did of the questionnaire was the COO of Top Cal, that being Matt Hawkins, and shout out to him. You can go check out his past interview. You know, and I think Top Cow is a place that, well, I mean, and it being a subsidiary of Image, I think in the 90s they changed a lot of things. Like they caused a lot of change within that time frame. You know, what's your opinion, man, as far as just the change within the comic book industry? You know, because I know, look, we got a PanCon coming up here soon, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be able to peep this episode with Vlad before you'll be able to peep that. We're going to be discussing, have comics gotten too dark over time? You know what I mean? Like in comparison to where, you know, it's Superman lifting up a car in Action Adventures, and, you know, Spider-Man's just Stan Lee had to push to even get a anti-drug story in a Spider-Man comic, to now you've got things of the like of, you know, Crossed by Garth Ennis, and everything Top Cow did as far as the darkness and the Witchblade and that whole universe. It's pretty dark. You know, Spawn is a great example of comics getting way darker. Do you think that's something that's happened in the industry as far as just comics getting a little too much edge to them?
No. I think that that comics from the beginning of the 90s up to now, for the past 30 years, basically with the formation of Image, I think that the pinnacle was in the 80s when the indie industry was starting with Dark Horse and Malibu and Charleston Comics and all that, like the curve going up. And then in the 90s that it picked up, and that with all of that like formation outside of Marvel, DC, and superhero genres, that the comics grew as a medium for telling a lot of good stories, actually. So today you can basically tell any kind of story you want through a comic book. It can be a slice of life, it can be an educational, a dark, bizarre horror like Where Monsters Lives, or a kind of like a techno thriller, or a ecological sci-fi, or a comedy, or, you know, whatever you want. And there is an audience for that, and there is a publisher for that, and you can actually be expressive the way you want in both narrative and like a visual, artistic, and coloristic, and, you know, the whole package thing, actually. So I think in a way that comics evolved, not in a dark, but, you know, through the both. There is light, there is dark, there's like the whole package there. And that's I think that's like a beautiful thing right now.
All right, and go ahead.
What?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, man, I do tend to fully agree as far as comics were able to evolve, you know, to where it's not any. Comics have the same depth to them now, in my opinion, as far as if you compare them to films. You know what I mean? You can go and find a film about pretty much anything. You know, whether it's something as lighthearted as some Disney film. And I mean, Disney obviously has some dark films. Everything the MCU has done, everything from DC and just all of the comic book films. Then you've got Two Guns, which is a comic book film. Shout out to Stephen Grant, he wrote that book, which is totally not superhero based. You've got all your love and romantic comedies, all of this. But yeah, I feel comics have evolved to that point to where they do have that depth within them. To where it is just anything. And look, if y'all want to see more about that, man, we got Doug Wagner, Erica Schultz, Tom Borvolt, and son of a bitch, I ain't got the list in front of me, and I'm forgetting the last name, and I apologize. Shit, I can't remember Hardaway.
I don't remember anything. I got a lot going on, man. So right now, I want to know what you think the characters that you are coloring right now's favorite candy bars are.
Sorry, what? The candy bars?
The characters that you're coloring right now and working on. I wonder if you can tell me what their favorite candy bars are.
Stephen Grant. Stephen Grant's the other member of that Paycon. Jesus, the guy that I just brought up a moment before I said that list. So those four answer the man's question, Vlad. Jesus.
There we go.
Sorry, Stephen.
Yeah, the candy bars. Well, I think like every character would have like their own each like color-wise candy. The main lady, Zell from the Where Monsters Lies, she would probably have like the red pill as she's the boss, kind of, and so on. Like the clown would have like a pink candy bar. The jumpsuit guy would have like a white one, and I would just give them one colored candy bar that would kind of resemble their character color-wise. So
if you didn't give the clown cotton candy, I'd be a little upset.
Well, actually, that you said cotton candy. The story that we are doing for Z2, the last comic book on the last comic book on the left, Detective Popcorn, he's actually going about some candy kind of type killer. So there are candies there.
The title of that book just makes me feel like it's gonna be about something terrible. You know that? Because I mean, the last house on the left, right?
Yeah.
That's when I read that title, I'm like, what kind of rapey shit is this about to be?
No. Actually, the comic book is really great. Actually, the anthology is really diverse and interesting, and you have to read it. You have to experience it.
I'm gonna have to, man. I'm gonna have to talk to Dave as far as for getting that. But yeah, it's just it made me think of that movie. You know what I mean? Which is very dark, to say the least.
Yeah. I think I remember that movie.
Yeah, it's kind of rapey. Vlad, it's a little rapey, especially the original. The original's a little,
not an everyday watch.
Yeah, it's not my kind of. I mean, there are people that want to watch that film. Whatever, enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. Just don't be rapey in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I personally don't enjoy that medium, but that's whatever. I know, like I said, everything is going to be represented everywhere. I mean, there are comics that I definitely don't enjoy, but that's because there's enough comic books out there that if I ever met somebody, man, I love every comic book they put out. I'd be like, you don't read every comic book they put out. Shut up.
No, this comic book is not like that. This is actually this comic book is actually a cool one.
Okay.
So a lot of good stories.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Vlad? The fact that going from, the 70s and 80s, you really didn't have the amount of you did not have the amount of comic books coming out that you do now on a weekly basis. And what do you think that's done for the entire of the industry, man? As far as just it's went from, mainly Marvel and DC, and then Dark Horse came around, and then Marvel pissed a bunch of people off and Image formed, to now you have people that are just completely independently publishing, and the amount of comics coming out weekly is around 70 to 80. I only know this because Dave, who works at Comic Book University, and he kind of keeps me informed of such things.
Well, I think I think the marketing world, and like that's a good thing, that there is a lot of diversity for people to find the stories they like, and like like with everything, like with technology, like with movies, like with all kinds of art and life, the market grew and the market evolved and adapted, and the need for diverse storytelling was there, so creators stepped in and do the stories. Some of the things that creators do were like for their own need, for their own niche. I, for example, doing some creating some art for myself and for my own creative needs, because I like to experiment. So I think in a creative fields, that's kind of that went on, and that it was just a natural thing that happened during the years, and one thing led to another, and that's that. So now, like in 80s there was Dark Horse, then in 90s there was Image, now in 2000s there were like a bunch of other independent comic books like Boom Studios, IDW, Dynamite, and all the others. And now today we have like self-publishing platforms like Patreon, Substack, or Ghost, or other websites, and like webtoons, web comics and whatnot. So the medium evolves and grows, and obviously there is need for that. People want to see, want to experience, and creators are just doing so. I think that's like a good thing, and it keeps everybody kind of on the moment. It keeps everybody creative, because you have to think about when you're creating, it's not just like doing one thing repetitiously. As an artist, you have to kind of experience and create something new. So I think that's a good thing, actually. And I experimented a lot with technology. I even worked on a web comic in 2015 for a startup from San Francisco. Like, we made something like that. So,
and I'll agree, man. I think it definitely has caused it to where you get a variety of stories that I don't know that you would ever get elsewhere. I like a perfect example of this, in my opinion, would be Stray Dogs.
Yeah.
Because there's have you read Stray Dogs?
I think, yeah, that's like the old one, Bill Sienkiewicz, I think. No, or I missed it.
She's Tony, yeah, Tony Nese. Jesus. Tony,
I think
sorry.
I can remember. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, it was Tony, because we've had him on in the past show, and we've discussed these. He's also getting ready to drop a Local Man from Image, which, if you're an old school Image fan, Vlad, like if you read Image back in the day with Brigade and Spawn and all that, I highly recommend Local Man. I know you guys can go pick up issue 1 right now at the very least. I'll be picking it up here coming Monday, even though I've technically already read it because Tony's awesome and sent me a copy that I could read. But it very much touches in all the depths of that. But then like Stray Dogs is on a completely different end of the spectrum. And if for anybody out there that's a fan of like the dog films of Disney and such, you know what I mean, and you're into serial killer things, I would highly recommend it. I know my girl liked it, and she's never read a comic in her life, and she was like, "That's very much not what I expected at all from a comic book," because I think a lot of people who don't really know of comic books have a tendency to think, oh, well, it's Superman and Batman and Spider-Man and Wolverine and this and that. And it's like, no, if you really start digging into comics, it's really not anymore. I mean, you do have that, very much so. That's prolifically there. I mean, I don't know how many. I think DC, the last time I talked to Dave, they're putting out like 12 or 16 titles a month that are about Batman. Kind of excessive in my opinion, but if they're selling them, whatever, put them out. It's obviously something
they have their audience.
Yeah, I mean, if they got people enjoying them, that's fine. I know for a fact, like I've been a fan of Deadpool for a while, and when they were doing that with Deadpool, I was kind of like, dude, Jesus, can you just give me like 3 a month's enough? You know what I mean? If you go over 3 books for one character in a given month, I'm just kind of like, hey, can we relax? Because I think it causes a thing where you get an oversaturation of that character and then the market becomes sick of it. I think you don't have that problem so much in like the books you're working on as far as last comic on the left and where monsters lie, because it's not something that I think will get oversaturated to that point, man. You ever worry about like a saturation problem in the market in that regard?
No, because these types of books that I'm working on right now, these are all miniseries, like 4 or 5 issues or anthologies, and it's kind of creator-owned, self-contained story. Basically, it's a unique experience that you can get while you're reading it, and that's it. I mean, you buy the issues, you buy the trade, you have a complete story. Eventually, some of the stories might get a second story arc. We did that in the past. I collaborated on a few of those for example, for World Comics. So basically, it's a limited edition experience, like a movie. So you have like 110, 120 pages of unique story that you enjoy both in narrative, theme, visual style, and that's it. It's not like a superhero comic book issue 857-A with like a 70 variants of covers. So kind of like a unique
Oh,
experience. So.
shit. I love that you added the -A in there, Vlad. Oh my god, that was priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Hardaway, I got a good question, but come up with something random first.
I honestly don't have anything. I have a lot going on, brother. I was actually going to say I am sorry, but I have to go take care of a villain and assist my grandmother with dealing with certain emotions. So I gotta go.
Well, damn. Hardaway has his alien mission apparently, and
Yeah.
sometimes Zay gets deep, and we'll leave it at that, right? But that's fine because I have an excellent collection, and I guess there's going to be a couple real screwy edits in this episode. There really, really are, but it's fine. Thankfully, I've become fairly proficient at editing, Vlad. I really have. But yeah, as you can see,
Okay.
Jay Hardaway has left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
even though technically when I point at that and you guys read it on the screen, it's going to be backwards. That's neither here nor there. It's going to say, like, I can't pronounce Jay Hardaway left, and I'm not pronouncing that backwards. I'm not. If you guys want to figure it out, do it.
You
I
could
don't care.
just mirror the image for like 3
But
seconds when that is.
but then I got to flip it. You're just trying to cause me more of a pain in the ass editing this episode than it's already going to be,
No,
Vlad. I'm
just
not.
show it in iMovie and just
It's
like click on a few buttons and it should do it.
all right. So to my question, right? I'm curious.
Okay.
Vlad, is there we discussed as far as their artists that you would like to put color to? You know what I mean? If you got a chance professionally, are there any characters out there that you're just a fan of that you're like, man, I'd love to color that character. I think it'd be awesome.
Oh yeah. I have like a few. For example, I'm a huge fan of Lobo. Like I love Simon Business work and Lobo. I mean that's like, there we go. Of DC's catalog of characters, Lobo, Green Lantern, because I love that sci-fi, like space and universe and like all that science stuff. And I don't know, Thor would be interesting. Galactus, like from Marvel, like, oh yeah, the 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 Planet Eater, like the whole those like universe and Silver Surfer and that kind of sci-fi stuff most of the time because I like that, and those are the characters that I like enjoy reading, and especially like kind of weird that have like a touch of weirdness, so I
Well,
can go wild.
based on some of your answers, man, and the fact that you didn't fill out a questionnaire,
Okay.
Well, let's get into a couple things, man. I want to know, like, did you like the Green Lantern film?
Actually, it was okay. I mean, it's like a popcorn entertainment, nothing spectacular, but I guess it was okay. I can't say I would watch it again, but at the time it was relatively okay. I don't know. I mean, it's a superhero movie, so
So
I think
then I just gotta ask, man, because I really like picking creators' brains on this particular question, and you didn't answer
okay.
my questionnaire, right? What film that's based on a comic do you think just lived up to that comic the least?
The least, um, oof, that's a tough one. Tough one.
That's why I like to ask it on the pre-show so I can pick the
Yeah,
individual's
yeah, yeah.
mind about it. But
Well,
you didn't
okay.
answer my
Give me a
pre-show
second.
questionnaire, damn it.
Catwoman would be the one, for example. That one could be maybe better. Um, then I can't really remember what other. I can tell you like one of the comic book movies that I really liked. That's like a different question, but
Well, that's actually a question on the questionnaire that you were
yeah, there we
supposed to
go.
answer before you came on the show.
Okay, well, I'll just go fast on the fly, so you don't have to cut that much. One of the comic book adaptation movies that I really liked was American Splendor, the Harvey Pekar one. So I was a really fan of that movie with Paul Giamatti, how he played and everything, and the whole kind of editing, half movie, half documentary. That was like a really, really interesting movie for me. It was not a superhero movie, but yeah.
See, and you bring up a film that I think is very interesting that I'm sure a lot of people have watched, but I guarantee a lot of them weren't aware that it was based on a comic book, based on
Yeah.
the fact that it doesn't have that superhero vibe, man. And I think this is something that we haven't gotten into for a while, but I think it's always a funny point to me. How much how much comics have just become part of pop culture to the point where I don't think people understand how much comic books have become a part of pop culture. You know what I mean? In the reference of like Two Guns, it's based on a comic book, but it's Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg and Denzel Washington. I guarantee you, a ton of people watch that film and have no idea that it was written by a guy that's what he does professionally. He writes comic books, man. It's Stephen Grant. Like you can go check out his
Yeah.
past interviews, like I said earlier. And I mean, there's so many other examples of this. You know, I think if it wasn't so publicly acknowledged that The Walking Dead is a comic book and it wouldn't have been the success that it has, I think that's another one that definitely could have slid under the radar as, oh, this is just some TV show about zombies and it did really well. Mind you, it did so well that everyone knows it's a comic,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of examples of that where they I mean they did well, but they didn't do Walking Dead well, which that's not to downgrade anything that was turned from a comic into any other medium. That's to say that The Walking Dead reached a level few things do as far as popularity, so it was just known in that capacity.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about that, man? And especially the fact that now with Marvel doing what it's done with the MCU, and making DC go, oh, well, we're not selling movie rights no more. Let's try and make a movie universe like Marvel did. It's made it to where they're reaching to other comic book companies. You know what I mean? What do you think of the impact of all of that on just the entirety of entertainment?
Well, I think I think it's a good thing if the movies uh, inspired people to read more, to buy more, to support the industry more. I think that's a good thing then. And the universe, the Marvel universe, like the movie franchise and the whole package, like it has some good things, it has some bad things. It's kind of diverse for the people who like different type of movies. So I I watched I think last year I was like did the Marvel movie marathon where I watched it like in a narrative chronological order, not like in an order that movies came out, because that's different thing. And that in that way it made like more sense, the whole meta narrative story that they were telling about. So I kind of liked that. it's again superhero movies. When you watch like 20 Marvel movies in a row, you kind of get fed up with similar storytelling. But
Wait. So last year you went from what the Incredible Hulk would have been the first, right?
no, I went from the Iron Man from 2009.
See, man, but the Incredible Hulk is technically first. It's just Edward
Which one?
Norton. The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
The one with Edward Norton.
That was the second Hulk. The first one was Eric Bana.
That wasn't a Marvel film though. That wasn't done by Marvel. Technically, they were just
that was Sony, I think.
Yeah. They were supposed to continue with Edward Norton. There was just all of that and whatever. We ain't getting into all that. I'm glad I'm happy with shit. I think
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. Yeah,
I think he did great.
Yeah,
great
I think
role.
he does phenomenally as Bruce Banner. So like whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna say I didn't like the Incredible Hulk. I did. I'm glad they brought the Abomination back recently in She-Hulk. That's what I'm saying. I was just curious as to where you started, whether you started there or at Iron Man, because I think a lot of people do see Iron Man as the technical start of the MCU, which really, because Hulk came out first, right?
Yeah, it went.
Okay.
I don't know, 2007, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, and again, it's not by much, man. You know what I mean? To what film?
To I think what came last year? I think to Ant-Man, or I can't remember. I think I ended with the Endgame. I think I ended with Endgame, like something like that. I can't really remember right now.
How many hours was that? Oh my God, Vlad!
Well, there was like 22 movies, like each of them is like 2 hours. I think like 48 hours, 50 hours of movies, but not in a row, like in a 2 months or something like that. I was like watching like.
Look, me and my girl recently went and seen Quantuminium. And
I haven't seen that yet. One.
Yeah, I won't give no spoilers, man. I liked it. Now, mind you, I've been a Marvel fan for my entire life, so I know there are certain things like people are getting nitpicky about. At the same time, I'm like, I think when you watch the Marvel films, especially if you're someone that's avidly read Marvel comic books, you have to kind of disassociate it from the comic books to a certain degree, because they're obviously not going to do everything perfectly, because one, at a certain degree, they couldn't, because, they just didn't have the rights to certain characters.
Yeah.
And Sony is still trying to kind of keep the Spider-Man villains to themselves, but I mean, they have everything else now. And then two, you just can't do everything in a film that you can in a comic.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. There's certain things that will work on the page, in my opinion, that just wouldn't work in a film. Right, like I'm sorry, Garth Ennis, and I know Garth Ennis has done a lot of work that is translated to film and TV perfectly. I mean, The Boys is a really good example. I think Preacher was phenomenal. I wish they would have kept running it. I really like the show, and I'm a huge fan of the comic. But if they ever do Crossed, I think people will be like, "What in the fuck is this?" All right, this is too far. This is far, far too far. No, yeah. And there will be people that want to watch it. Those are not the kind of people I want to hang out with. You know what I mean? Have you read Crossed, Vlad?
I haven't. I know the comic that's been published by Avatar Press, right?
No, Crossed is shit, Vlad, you're testing my knowledge, man, because I want to say it's IDW.
Well, I can't remember either.
It's either IDW or Dynamite. I apologize to both you guys that I don't know exactly which one that is. But I really want to say it's IDW. But like I said, I know Garth Ennis is the guy that wrote it. And I've read a lot of Garth Ennis's work. I had a chance to meet him at a convention at one point. I've enjoyed everything I've read. I even enjoyed Cross. It's the one thing of his that I wouldn't go back and reread.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, you ever just read something that's like, hey, this was good, but it was too much?
Yeah, I've been across a few of those stories, yeah. And not necessarily in comic books, but in novels, So
what would you do? Have you ever come across something where somebody's like, color this, and you've seen it and you were like, I don't wanna?
No, that hasn't been on my plate so far.
Do you think
Pretty
there's a
much.
moral line in that where you would just like, you'd be like, morally, I can't color this. This is
Oh yeah, definitely would be. I do have my own limits as a creator. I do have my own ethics and moral stand grounds and everything. So I do have my own vision how the world should supposed to look like and everything. So if I would came across something like that, if it isn't resonating with me, I would definitely toss it away. I would not do it. But so far, all the comic books, all the stories that I worked on were okay because they were all by legit publishers, the good ones, and so far I enjoyed pretty much in everything I created.
That's and that makes me curious, man. Like, you ever go back and look at some of your old colors, like
oh yeah,
things
I
you
do.
did years ago, and go,
Oh
God, I wish
yeah.
I'd have done that different.
No, I actually don't feel that. I feel like when I get back on the memory lane, like for 5 years or 7 years, or like open the comic book, did I really do this? It feels like a completely different person did this. Like, is this really my work? Is this like really how I colored it then? And then I'm like, okay, this is kind of embarrassing. Then I'm like, oh, this is so awesome, man. Way to go, bro. Like, I wish I could do that again.
So little column A, little column B.
Yeah. Like, how did I manage to pull this off? This was like in the moment, and like, so yeah, it's like different stories, different timelines, and like some of the things were like in different moments in life. Some were like because when you go through life, you like you have like ups and downs, and some of the books were made when I was like having a tougher times in life. Some were made when I was having an easier life. So it kind of, I know which are which that are going to be like personal archives, but I found some of my parallels in my work, so I know when I'm up, when I'm down, how I do some stuff. So, but that's only mine.
What is there times where you get in such a down where it's hard for you to work? And what do you do to work through that, man?
Well, when I was younger, I had moments like when I got overworked, and then I just need to replenish. I need to get out. I need to go maybe for a jog, for a run, meeting with friends, binge watch something, read something, like just play a game, or just get away from the computer, from comic books, from actually ingesting art, and just do something else to recuperate and to replenish my energy and everything. But that is like a form of training, like when you do some sports or jogging and everything, and then when you train a lot of it, it kind of you learn your like limits, you learn your capabilities, how to push forward with each step, and you grow. And now I know how to pace myself. I know how much work I can do, when are the good days, when are the bad days, how it goes. And sometimes if I can't do it, I just leave it. I'm like, I just leave it in the midweekly. It's Wednesday, I can't do anything, it doesn't work. So I try to do work. I flat the page, I prepare the page, and then I leave it and work shorter hours, replenish myself, and tomorrow is like nothing happened. Like, there we go, everything is go. So it's pretty much that. But I don't have those type of oscillations often. But there are crunch times when the deadline is tight, and like you have like a few projects to wrap up, and somebody was late, something was delayed because of the licensor or something, something in production was like hold, and then like it piles up, so you need to work fast.
What's the biggest issue you've had in regards to that, as far as like, was it like more something was delayed over some kind of issue as far as on the editorial side, or was it like, dude, this artist needs to finish drawing this page so I can color it, I swear I'm about to go nuts because I got 5 days left, kind of thing?
Um Well, not, I don't know. It's just, talking with the editor. Like, I was always like, who is late? Why is late? Okay, the artist being late. So, I'm like, I might not be able to, do it by Friday. I can do it by Monday because technically it's not possible. And most of the time the production is going well, so we always have like 2 or 3 or 5 or even a week in advance so that we can catch up. So I try to do that. Sometimes it's a crunch because somebody, one of the colleagues were, for example, was sick, and editor asked me, can you jump in? I know you're working on this, but if you can jump on to save the book quickly, like for 5 pages or 7 pages or whatever, it will be great. And then I jump in on the book and do that and fill in quickly, and we kind of push through. But a few times I had like assistants, like flatting assistants that were preparing the pages so that I can go in and finish it faster, so that I don't have to like do the blocking and like filling the coloring and everything. Like, just go and do the color composition and rendering and effects and everything and prepare the page for print. So yeah, that's sometimes it's a bit tense, but when you know that you need to finish it's a teamwork. You're last in the production, well, almost last. Like, there is a letterer behind you, but most of the time letterer does the lettering on the black and white pages. So basically, technically, colorist is the last in the production. So when you know that like there's like 10 people in the company and everybody's like waiting for you to finish, you don't have much room for error. And then you're like, okay, just streamline. You get it, it, so just do it. I mean, and I have my technique when it comes to coloring, when it comes to color composition, when it comes to special effects and kind of stuff that I like to do. So I know how to organize everything and solve the pages. Most of the time, when I get the issue, I look at the pages, I read the script, and I'm like, okay. Sometimes I take some notes aside, like what I want to find, some references to get inspired for, to find color solutions for the scenes. Because like when you set up a scene on page 1 and then the scene goes for the next 4 pages, then you think about, okay, I'm gonna make this mood transitions, like emotions, suspense, whatever. Like.
You've made several points, man, that honestly validate something I said earlier, which was the fact that I don't think people understand how important a colorist is in the entirety of a comic book. And not even that, but I think a lot of people don't understand I think a lot of people, when they look at a comic book, it's like, okay, there's the writer and the artist.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't think beyond that. And I think it's the same thing with a film, oh, well, there's the actor and the director. You don't really think beyond that, but it's the same in the film as it is in or it's the same in the comic book industry as in the film. There's not. There's a letterer, there's colorists, there's inkers, there's the penciler, there's the writer, you got an editor, and everybody has to come together to work to make to make a book work, man. So I don't think people understand the camaraderie that is necessary for any book, especially if it's one that's coming out monthly or twice a month like that, for it to continuously come out like that. Now, to that end, man, I'm curious, have you ever had, and you ain't got to say no names because I ain't trying to get you in trouble, Vlad, but have you ever had an issue where someone was just a real stick in the mud as far as, just, oh, dude, would you just stop with your BS so we can get this book done?
I don't think so. No, everybody was pretty much aware what are we doing. A lot of people I worked with were trained professionals. Some of the artists were, well, pretty much the writers were the ones who were like less experienced. A few writers I collaborated with were less experienced, but everybody on the team was like aware of that, and we all tried to give advice, and everybody just to work together to make the book on time. So it's a learning experience for everyone. And no, I haven't encountered in that way a problem when it comes to production.
That's honestly just nice to hear, man. I mean, because I know if you look through all the past episodes of the questionnaire for everybody out there watching, you can definitely hear there are times where that's not the case. You know, I think it was Mark that had a hell of a story, if memory serves me proper. And I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, the closer you work with people, and the more people you work with, the probability of that happening is definite, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because at some point you're just gonna be like, that guy's an asshole. You know? I mean,
Well, I definitely had a few creative differences with a few colleagues that I worked with. That is like, I think, inevitable thing in every industry, because we just see and experience and feel things differently, and then when it comes to a creative difference, you try to bridge that gap, and you talk it out, and then we all find like a medium point. My point is solid, his point is solid, so we need to have like a middle ground for everybody, and it that's how you walk it through, and you try to find a solution, because it's teamwork. And I personally like to have that chemistry in a creative team, like we're a band, like that. I can talk to people I work with, not just through editor, and that we're all in a group chat or Discord or Slack or email or whatever, so that we go over. And I always, like, when I approach the coloring, I was like, okay, I have these ideas, so what do you guys think? Like this and this, I think that could be done like that. And they were like, okay, this is cool, maybe we can do this differently. And that's how we bounce off and do the creative direction and solve the problems in emails and chat, and then we go and create. Everybody does their own thing, and
I
then
know
later.
to that, man. I know you haven't had a chance to work with one of the big two. I hope that you do. Just from looking at your work, man, I'd like to see it on some things. But does it make you wonder what that process would be like as far as being different? Because obviously, if you're working for, I don't even want to say one of the smaller publishers, especially when I'm referring to Image, because I don't think that's the case. I mean, they refer to those as the big three now. But I mean, when you're working with something that's not a huge universe, that's how I'll put it, so I don't offend anybody. Because DC and Marvel, they are a
Yeah,
huge
that's
contained
yeah, and
universe. You don't. I feel like you get a little bit more leeway, just because why wouldn't you? It's not a huge contained universe. It's all supposed to just, fit nice and proper together, like a nice little puzzle. Um, would you be worried, or what do you think your thought? Do you have any initial thoughts as far as working for one of the big two? Like, what do you think the difference would be?
I don't think there would be much difference. I mean, it's a different playground. When you work on a licensed property, there are rules. You can color, I don't know, Superman different than what he is, for example, or Batman or Captain America or anybody else. And you follow those rules, and you try to give your visual approach by playing and using those rules. Basically, don't I would not adapt it. I would more like be the interpret it, like how I feel that character. So my own emotional seal to those stories, and that's how I approached all the licensed work that I did. Hellraiser, for example, is a licensed work. Highlander as well. That was a licensed project. What else? I worked on RoboCop. Two stories, the 2013 remake. So I had to follow exact design for the new suit, which was black, not silver, like from the 90s. So that's it. I mean, I had room to design and color and do some stuff around the city and some other characters, but RoboCop had to be, for example, the black metal suit. So that was the rule, and that's the character. So in a way, that's like the easier thing, because the coloring. So basically, you're just giving your artistic interpretation. But in the other way, it's cool because you're doing something interesting.
All right,
So
I just
yeah.
didn't know. I just didn't know in that if it might make you feel limited. as far as what you were able to do more than anything. I would think the way to put it, because you're right. When you're doing those characters, you very much. I mean, you can't go and make Batman purple or make Superman have a bright black or have a dark black cape, or like there's certain things. If you sent that page back, you would probably get a really quick phone call being like,
Yeah.
"The f are you
Yeah.
doing?"
But then again, when you get such a type of the gig, such a type of the project, you know what you're doing, you know what you're getting into yourself. So if you want to experiment, like do the avant-garde stuff, like whatever, you go to create your own stuff. You do create your own comic, you create your own character, your story. So you basically create your own universe and experiment there what you want. Here is a different story. So
Now, to that end, man, you said you'd been doing a couple things as far as for yourself, right?
yeah.
You got anything in the works, Vlad?
I have like my Substack newsletter where I was experimenting with my own novel, sci-fi, space opera. I wanted to experiment with fiction writing because I like to create my own stories, and I want to explore how would it feel when I design everything but in words. So far I'm doing that and having fun with writing, and I have like a few chapters finished. I have the planned whole story. Basically, like I approach it like I'm making a comic book only with words. So all the rules that I put in a comic book, I put them in a novel, and I design the story like that and everything, and just painting the picture with like words, one line at a time. So that's
And
like interesting.
for everybody watching, there'll be a link in the descriptions. You can go sign
All
up to
right.
that newsletter and check that
Yeah.
out for yourself. Hopefully, Vlad sends me some of his work, and if you've been watching this in a video as opposed to just the audio of it, you've been able to see some of Vlad's work if he's emailed it to me. Unlike him emailing the answers to the questionnaire, I'm gonna give you shit about that.
I will get you. I will get you. I can send you a link and you can pick it up. I have like a demo reel on
Okay.
ArtStation, a few folders, so you can handpick what you'd like if you want
Okay.
that. Or I
Yeah.
can just email you 10 pages.
Yeah. Well, no, just whatever you want to do is fine. Just send me the demo link, man. 10 pages. We've been going for a while, and plus I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to edit around the Hardaway chicanery, and yeah, whatever. We won't get into that. I apologize for all the edits that have been throughout this episode, ladies and gentlemen. But look, yeah, it's been Vlad up in the house, man. We don't do episode numbers no more. I decided to take them off every fucking episode I put out because I don't give a shit. It's a quest, and a quest don't have episodes. It's just a quest, and you go about it and you try to accomplish things. Look, I hope you've appreciated Vlad, and I would normally have this wrap up that was terrible or that was either really good for you or really terrible for you, Vlad. You didn't answer the questionnaire. So what you fucked up my end of the show, man. Like that's
I
my
think the show was great
I
actually.
but
It was
no,
in the
man,
flow.
but the end
It was a
bit,
great
it's just
experience.
that cherry on top, I'm telling you. And you
Yeah.
without you answering certain questions that are in that pre-show questionnaire, I can't put the cherry on top, right? So we'll put it like this, right? If you've liked this interview and you've appreciated Vlad and the art you've seen and everything else, man, tell Marvel and DC, like actually specifically, tell DC they need to hire him to color Lobo. Because I want to see that one specifically, because I love Lobo, right? Right? If he's just
All
annoyed
right.
the hell out of you, I guess trying to get him kicked out of the industry, even though that seems really, really dickish, I swear, this usually isn't that bad, but you didn't answer the questionnaire. Typically, I just send some weird random thing after you, but
Yeah.
you didn't answer my questions. Though
Yeah.
actually,
Well,
you did.
this.
Yeah, you answered the questions during the show.
Yeah. So basically, we were like, on the hero's journey quest because there was no questions. Like this is like the dark night of the soul, basically the shadows and the monsters and everything.
Don't wonder. So
So
wait, dude. I don't look. We're not. I'm going back to my comic book, y'all. Have a good night. If you've enjoyed it, hold on. Where's my damn? Yeah, if you've enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, give that shit a thumbs up. Have a good night. and make sure you check out all them links. It's time for more X-Force.
All right. Thanks for having me here. It was a pleasure. Great. I think we did great.